case you don't keep up on such things, and why would you, Christian apologist ordinaire William Lane Craig has a new book out. It's called In Quest of the Historical Adam, a biblical and scientific exploration. Of course, I think the book should have been titled An Hysterical Quest for the Historical Adam. To be fair, I haven't read the book. I would, but I'm still working my way through In Quest of the Historical Frodo and In Quest of the Historical Centaur. Fortunately, Bill is already out doing interviews and talking about the book seemingly nonstop. Who could have imagined that Bill would be so yappy, right? He must love the sound of his own voice as much as I hate the sound of my own. So far, my favorite interview on the topic comes to us via Christian apologist Sean McDowell. To bring you up to speed, Bill can't quite bring himself to ignore and or reject modern science like the young Earth creationists do. Indeed, Bill says the following regarding the young Earth narrative.
To me, that is a nightmare. My greatest fear is that the young Earth creationist might be right in his hermeneutical claim that Genesis does teach those things that I described earlier. And I say that would be a nightmare because if that's what the Bible teaches, it puts the Bible into massive, I think, irredeemable conflict with modern science, history, and linguistics, and I don't want that to happen.
Good for you, Bill. Not so good for Ken and the hamsters. But then, in order to reconcile the Bible to science, Craig proposes an Adam and Eve who evolved and lived between 1 million and 750,000 years ago, specifically Homo heidelbergensis. Why American Christians still seem to have such a thing for the Germans is beyond me. Bill also proposes that the first 11 chapters of Genesis are something called mytho-history or proto-history, a form of literature which should not be taken literalistically, like the rest of Genesis, including the story of Abraham, Sodom and Gomorrah, a talking donkey, God appearing in human form, a crowd of homosexuals hoping to rape a pair of angels, and a woman being turned into a pillar of salt. Apparently that's all history, but not that silly Adam and Eve story or Noah's Ark or the Tower of Babel, according to Bill. Just listen to how dismissive he is.
I mean, when you read a story about two people in an arboretum with these magical trees whose fruit, if you eat it, will grant you immortality or knowledge of good and evil. And then there's this talking snake who comes along and tempts them into sin. And then you have this anthropomorphic God walking in the cool of the garden, calling out audibly to Adam in his hideout. You think, well, of course this is figurative.
I really do, Bill. Good point. I mean, when you read a story about some kid being born in a manger under a new star with this magical ability to heal the sick and raise the dead, who, if you believe in him, will grant you immortality, and then there's this evil snake of a being who comes along and tries to tempt him into sinning, then you have this anthropomorphic God dying on a cross and coolly walking out of a tomb, coming back to life along with a whole bunch of other dead people. You think, well, of course this is figurative. Seriously, what is the difference between the Adam and Eve story and the resurrection, or the rest of the Bible for that matter, in terms of its obviously mythical nature? A talking snake is absolutely silly. But is it really more silly than a bunch of zombies rising from their graves and hanging out at the local Starbucks in downtown Jerusalem? There are dogs right here on YouTube who can say, "I love you." Almost every snake can say, "Psst." But dead people coming back to life? That only happens when Republicans are trying to steal an election or falsely claim voter fraud. Of course, we haven't even gotten into the deeper problems posed by Craig's theory about a recently upright Adam and Eve, geologically speaking. There's all the damage done to biblical inerrancy, Orthodox Christology, and the crushing blow it poses to the alleged reliability of so-called revelation. We'll look at those problems next time. Until then, I'm me. Thanks for watching.